Welcome into PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. And with me is the old left-hander Ross Grimsley, former Oriole, former Cincinnati Reds, former Montreal Expo, and former Cleveland Indians. I got them all in there
You got
right,
them
right?
all in there, buddy.
All right. And that's the days when they were the Indians, not the Guardians.
Right.
All right. Also with me is Luke Jackson, our managing editor at PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. And guys, before we start, I'll get a little of the business out of the way with a question. What company has the expertise and technology to make your home substantially more energy efficient, comfortable, and even virus-free? Well, that would be our friends at AJ Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis at ajmichaels.com. And of course, with baseball season and March Madness just around the corner, no better time to sign up for your sports book. And why not choose Superbook Sports? They're the most trusted name in Vegas. And now you can use their promo code StanCharles23 or GlennClark23 to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they'll match your first bet up to $250 with one of those promo codes. GlennClark23, StanCharles23, all one word with no spaces. As you see on my screen, it says StanCharles23, all lowercase, and the 23 at the end. Don't miss out this season. Win some money with Superbook Sports and promo code StanCharles23. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We'll, of course, hear about Costa Sin a little bit later on the program. And if you're craving that classic New York deli experience, look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point, right around the corner from Fells Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different, a bar. Atman's has food and drink specials every night. We'll be telling you a lot about Atman's, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915, now with a new location in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Guys, let's get going and talk about the Orioles. What is it, Luke? Are they 9-1 or 8-1 going into play today?
No, they had their second loss today. Not
Okay.
that it matters, but
Okay.
you know,
But are they 8-2 or 9-2?
I think 8-2.
8-2. That's a pretty good record.
Really?
Last time I looked.
What really matters about spring training is winning games. The fact that Kyle Bradish is down, that doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. Come on, guys. If they're 8-2 this spring, that's what really matters.
Yeah, right. You pointed out, you heard just before we hit the airwaves here on this Zoom, Luke, Cedric Mullins had to leave today's game.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Brandon Hyde is too concerned. No MRI scheduled, but we'll see how he does in the coming days. So we were planning to talk about that outfield logjam. Well, might have been eased a little bit, unfortunately, today. So we'll see how Cedric comes out in the next few days.
All right. That's a sort of an unnerving pattern with him, though, with this injury. No matter the severity at this point, it puts you in position where it could be more severe the next time if you don't treat it right. And it's like a pump in the brakes. Ross, the one outfielder who's been outstanding to date has been Colton Cowser.
Right.
Read a piece that John Mioli of the Baltimore Banner wrote about it. Some positional change of his hands so he could get to pitches that he was putting himself out of position for getting last week. Bottom line is he's hit 3 home runs. I think he's hitting over 400. It's early in spring, but he's doing what it takes to make the team. But might be time. I mean, you know this better than I because you were on teams. Is it time to pump the brakes on who's made the team and who hasn't?
Absolutely. I mean, you got almost a month left in spring training, and that's a long time. And there's some of your younger players are going to get an opportunity more so now with, a Mullins going down with what he's got, which can take a little bit of time depending on the severity of it. But now you got Hurstad, Stowers, McKenna, all these guys in the outfield are going to get a little more playing time now. And that's what they want. They want playing time so they can impress. And as spring training goes along, your hitters are going to start facing, better pitchers. They're going to start facing guys that are starting to get their arm strength. and around the plate a little more, and able to change speeds and locate a little better. I mean, that's every spring training you go to. Pitchers go through that, but usually the last couple of weeks will give you a somewhat of an indication of what guys can do and what they can't do against the better pitchers on a more frequent, at bat type thing. So it is, they're kind of earning their way and staying away from the cut list, basically, and getting an opportunity.
But you get excited when you see Cowser with 3 home runs and Kyle Stowers like back from the dead with a couple home runs. He stole a base yesterday. But it would be nice to have a list of who they hit the home runs off of. Did they
Well,
hit them off of?
the thing is a lot goes into what guys do, how they swing, how they're pitching, catchers, how they're throwing, how they're calling the game. There's a lot of stuff that goes into a guy making a team, especially young guys that are kind of on the fence. And the more they do well, the better chance they're going to get. They're going to get that next chance. They're going to miss that next cut, which is very important. So, I mean, you got some older guys. T-Han, the pitcher.
Tehran.
Talking about him, he had one outing. Now, this is a veteran guy, and he's got a good opportunity. He just has to go out and perform, throw strikes, change speeds, and give himself a chance. Was in the same spot the last year I played with the Orioles. Trying to stay healthy, trying to show that you can. That's the main thing: throwing strikes and locating the ball.
Luke has pointed out to me. I mean, I know it's not $1 million, but that Tehran got $100,000 just to sign this contract with the Orioles.
Right.
So he's got a little tiny bit of leverage, enough like, hey, I've been around the rodeo a few times.
Exactly.
This isn't my first rodeo. What do you remember about him when you saw him pitch?
Well, I saw him when I first saw him when he was younger. He's a guy who's going to pump out innings. He's able to, he had pretty good stuff. Obviously, it's not the stuff he once had when he was with Atlanta, when he was pumping out a lot of innings, a lot of starts, which is, really good. I mean, he's a guy that more relies on off-speed pitches, a sinker, changing speeds now. His thing, he's got to keep the ball down in the zone because he's not overpowering. He throws, I think, 90 miles an hour, 91, which is good, but it's not, what the guys normally throw, even whatever gun you're using. But he has to locate, he has to change speeds, to keep the ball down and be able to locate and keep the hitters off balance to be effective.
It's interesting. Luke and I were talking about this. I used it the first time with John Means and Cole Irvin, that saying between the two of them, the Orioles are hoping to get one starter, that starts 30
Right.
games between the two of them, hits 150, 160 innings. And now Luke and I were talking with the problems that Wells had the second half last year after the All-Star break. Maybe they're looking at Tehran and Wells as a pairing that they get 170 innings out of, but that they don't push Wells too far over a cliff where they can't get some use out of him.
Well, they're signing some guys that they got to get in a backlog of pitching, which is good. I know I heard Scotty mention Suarez, the left-hander.
Yeah.
And
one of the Suarez's.
He was with the Giants, underachiever. He changes speeds. He's got a little zip on the ball at times, but he's a guy, I think, Scotty made the comment that he looked pretty good. Now, I think he's thrown 4 or 5 innings so far, give up 1 hit, nothing. I mean, he's a guy that, that could, go to AAA. I mean, if he keeps pitching well, he's going to keep getting an opportunity. And, but it all comes down to how you're pitching, what you're doing, just like hitting, who you hitting against, how's your swing. There's so many little things that goes into guys making the club, and it comes down at the very end when there's some spots open. But these are guys that if they don't make the club, some of them will go to AAA,
Yep.
and they got a chance to step in and come up and hold off, for a while till the other guys get ready. Or if they do well, they'll be around. Cole Irvin's a guy. I think he's he's a guy that throws strikes and give you innings. So keeps continuing to improve, which he has so far over last year. That's a great sign right there.
Yeah, a little uptick in velocity we hear so far in the first two starts. Luke, on the other side of the ball, they made a curious signing the other day until I crossed the what's it connected the dots.
A
I
deep dive.
connected the dots. Colton Wong struck me as for all the talk about Jackson Holiday making the team, then all of a sudden they pick up a veteran second baseman who looks past his prime. But now I find out, and you found out, there's a connection that Matt Holliday was a teammate of Colton Wong's in St. Louis for about 3 or 4 years. Um, might this be sort of almost a Matt Holliday created relationship where maybe he went to a Mike Elias and said, "Hey, there's a guy out there that can really teach my kid how to play second base, and he might make your team."
It's possible. I think it's very possible because remember Mike Elias has some Cardinals ties as well.
Yeah,
So um but yeah, Colton Wong sort of fits the Adam Frazier, Rougned Odor mold of a past his prime veteran second baseman who has a good reputation as a clubhouse guy, and
two-time Gold Glover winner too.
would fit into this clubhouse well. And to your point, yeah, there's a past relationship there with the Holiday family. I think you mentioned to me that he must have known Jackson when Jackson was 8 or 9 years old,
He
right?
knew him. He's known him since he was about 9 years old.
So that's pretty. I mean, it's amazing how baseball works sometimes.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and so it can't hurt to have him in the clubhouse. Whether he's going to make the team or not, I don't know. Don't think that he had like $100,000 signing bonus like Teron did.
No, I don't think he did
Yeah,
either.
it seemed like they were really intent on trying to get Teron into camp. So yeah, I think it's another option. And what I think really allows you to do that if you have an injury or two in the infield, instead of having to have Connor Norby on the roster and maybe like rotting on the bench because you don't have anybody else, you have
Right.
somebody who can fill in as that bench piece rather than having a young guy who should be getting every day at bats at AAA having to sit on the bench in the big leagues.
Luke, Ross, Gunnar Henderson supposed to play today in his first game. You've been around a lot of spring trainings. You gotta be kind of cautious with a guy, but yet there's still enough time for him to get all the work in he needs to be ready.
The hitters can get ready, and if pushed, pitchers can get ready in 3 weeks. I mean, it's a little bit different now with I think the most innings any pitcher has with the Orioles is four or five, and that's really at this point in time. It's really usually years ago that you had more. You probably went out and pitched a couple innings, maybe three if your pitch count was down. But the pitch counts elevate really quicker now, and so you're going to have less innings. So that's the key right there. But no, you're very careful with guys, even more so in this day and age. With the pitchers and the hitters. So the hitters have a little more time, and they'll be they can get ready. They can get ready in the next 3 weeks. The thing is don't peak too soon.
Ross, I got a big smile on my face because I was just thinking about Don Stanhouse, what kind of shape he was in about this time in spring training, about 2.5 weeks in.
Yeah, when I went to Calgary, I stopped over in Dallas, and I missed my connection and stayed with him. So we had a great time. Believe it.
I'll
I mean,
bet you
really,
did.
we always have a good time together. But yeah, he's. I mean, as a reliever, they're only going to throw a few innings at a time, especially at the back end of the bullpen. So they just, like I said, they don't want to peak too soon, throw too much too soon. Be ready for the start of the season.
But by the way, did John Miller, the author,
Yes, he did.
is he in touch? Is he in touch with you?
I talked to him the other night.
I wonder if he's talked to Stanhouse, because
I-
Stanhouse probably put 5 years on Earl.
Oh gosh, no! I mean, we had a great conversation. He called. We talked for about 45 minutes, and he had some interesting things on Earl that I didn't know. And
Did you know about Earl? Did you know about Earl's uncle?
No, that was what I was told, and I'm going, I didn't
Like
know that.
mob ties.
I think I would have been a little more nicer to him if I'd known that. But he was, I mean, it was a great, and I had nothing. I mean, I had nothing but good things to say. We had run-ins, me and Earl did, one, maybe two at the most. But he was, like I told John, you knew where you stood with Earl. You knew what was expected of you, and it was, that was of all the. I played for Dick Williams, Sparky Anderson,
Yep. You
and
played for
Earl.
some of the best. Yep.
Earl was the best. Earl
Yeah.
was the best. I mean, he he was very fair. Like I said, if you made a team, you had to play your way off of it, and that was hard to do because he selected you, and he wasn't going to be wrong.
Luke, getting back to the Orioles situation, one player that's really, I guess, reopened some eyes, and Eric Garfield, who's joined us every Thursday now to talk prospect stuff. We were talking about 7 or 8 prospects that kind of needed to reestablish some value in the eyes of the Orioles. Kyle Stowers seems to be doing that in spades so far.
Yeah, he's always had a lot of pop. He's always been able to defend in a corner. He's got a really good arm. Even last year when he really struggled, I thought he had one of the best defensive plays of the year in Kansas City. It turned into a blowout loss, but he made an amazing throw home. So he's got a really good arm. He can cover ground in the outfield. He's a left-handed thrower, but he just struck out way too much in the major leagues because he had such a long swing and big league fastballs up in the zone just tied him up, just ate him up. And so it seems like based on what we've seen, he went to work this offseason to cut down his swing.
And by that, do you mean he probably went to one of these facilities?
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
he,
Drive
asked for
line or
yeah,
something like
like
that.
asked for outside opinions about the best way to go. Or sometimes what guys will do, they'll go back to like a high school hitting coach or a college hitting coach or whatever to try to get back to who they were when they were at their best. So
Is
I don't know what
is
Kyle did. It's something that perhaps we can ask him when we're down there, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, and maybe
Is
that's
it
a story.
is it something that you think the ball club said this is what we want you to work on, and then whoever he went to, he took that?
I imagine that for Kyle, he's got a good head on his shoulders. It was
Yeah,
probably pretty obvious to him that, look, I mean, he just wasn't making enough contact at the major league level, and he
yeah.
needed to fix that. And he needed to make some swing changes in order to get to fastballs up in the zone, and that would allow him to get to some other pitches too. So, yeah, it seems like he's made some changes. Hopefully, it carries over, like Ross says. Really got to wait until the last couple of weeks of spring until the major league pitchers that you see start really ramping it up. Right now in camp, right, Ross, the first half of games is major league arms who are just getting their work in, and the back half of games are minor league arms that are just covering those innings for the sake of covering them. Whereas,
Usually, in some are even at the beginning of the games.
right,
A
right.
starter here and there. So yeah, it's like just like you said, towards the last couple of weeks, you're going to see some things happening, and if guys continue to show that they can hit or pitch at this level, they'll get the opportunity, and very well could make the club.
It's interesting. I look because I'm preparing for fantasy baseball. I look to see who's getting hits, and you look at who gets the saves, and pretty much you never heard of the guy.
Right.
Like on Cleveland, some guy gets a save yesterday, and I look and Class A pitched in the 4th inning.
Right.
They want their hitters, they want their pitchers to pitch against better hitters.
Yeah, Emmanuel Clase might be golfing by the 9th inning.
Yeah, exactly.
Really. Like I said, the guys in the pen, toward the back end, your setup and closers, they got lots of time. They got a lot of time, so they're going to use it wisely.
Luke, am I looking at it right now? I'm thinking that Kerstad has not done enough to at this point, a week, 10 days in, to have said, hey, I've made the club. So he's got to pick it up. It looks like Cowser is pretty much a certainty, in my opinion, to be the 4th outfielder. And I'd say that Stowers, if he continues anywhere like he is, and I'm not saying 400, but if he's hitting 280, 290 to end of spring training, and he's got 5 home runs, it looks like he would stay on the roster over McKenna, I think.
Yeah, I think Cowser might have a leg up, not because of his spring numbers, but because of how his skill set fits in.
Yeah.
Whereas with Kerstad, he's got some veterans in front of him who kind of do the same stuff that he does.
Yep.
Santander, Mountcastle,
O'Hearn. Yeah.
O'Hearn.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to be on the club.
Yep.
And they have pretty similar skill sets where, they're defensively limited guys. I mean, Kerstad is fine in a corner, but he's got some outfielders in front of him, and they're all, kind of power guys. And whereas Cowser can play center field decently well, I would say. He can play, cover a lot of ground in the corners, and is more of that on base, spray the ball around sort of hitter that they might need, that they might like, to go with the guys like O'Hearn and like Mountcastle and like Santander. So we'll see how that goes. Like we were talking about before, one injury changes the whole picture.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we'll see where we are.
Where's McKenna in this
That's a good question.
group?
Stan, is he out of options?
I'm pretty sure he is.
And so
I think he's got a tricky time. I know Brandon likes him, but he likes him like a friend. He doesn't like him like a son. He likes players that really have capabilities. And Stowers, to me, checks more boxes than McKenna if he holds
the
true
issue, yeah, the issue
during
for
spring.
Ryan for me last year was that he was on the roster to hit lefties, and he didn't hit lefties.
Yeah,
Now in
yeah,
22 he did.
yeah.
But that's a pretty volatile role, because if you're on the roster to hit lefties and to be like a late inning caddy defensively, well, you better be able to hit lefties in the 6 or 7 at bats a week you get against left-handers. And that's not enough to really get into a rhythm, but that's your role. And that's the expectation, is that you're going to hit well against those guys. So, and in terms of, and so, yeah, I think he could face a roster crunch, and maybe he finds a home in a place like Oakland where there's a little more regular playing time available for him, because whether he would get through waivers, I don't know.
Let me talk about the Costas in, and then we'll wrap up with a few more questions about rotation and one player in particular, Ramon Orias, who I think also might be on a bubble of some kind. But first, the Costas Inn, located 4100 North Point Boulevard. As I say on each and every one of these commercials, I've known the Triantafilos family since the mid-90s, so it's close to 30 years. They've been at that same location there. And I'm not saying it's an old place, because they refurbished it about 5, 6 years ago. But they've been there. It's a comfortable place. Ross has eaten there several times. Luke's been there a couple times. I've been there probably 100 times over the times. I'm probably 150 times now that I think about it. Great place for steamed crabs. Great place for March Madness, because they got TVs all over the place, in the bar, in the restaurant. And you can pretty much ask them, to play the game that's got your team on it. But steamed crabs, you got to call up in advance, 410-477-1975. Find out what size they have, what their price is, and what the availability is. Costas Inn, Monday through Friday, also great specials every night of the week for beef, chicken, fish. It's all there at the Costas Inn, one of my favorite places. And the service impeccable, just a feeling of being at your own home in a restaurant. That's the Costas Inn. Back with the guys here for our remaining few minutes. Ross, that idea I threw to you with Tehran and Wells almost partnering to reach a certain innings total, and then also I mentioned it with Means and Cole Irvin. I heard Jim Bowden say the same thing the other day with what the Dodgers are doing with James Paxton and Clayton Kershaw. They're hoping to get these guys that have had injuries, but they know when they are able to go out and pitch, they're highly successful. Sometimes coupling a couple of them isn't that far-fetched of an idea, is it?
Well, that's what a lot of people are leaning on. I mean, it all starts at your if you want to get more innings out of pitchers, it starts at your minor league level, and with every team. Now, if you're gonna, I mean, the big thing now is everybody steers away from using guys. You know, we're going to pitch you a couple innings here. You know, during the season, we're going to pitch 4 or 5 innings, depending on how many pitches you got. Very seldom you see a guy work his way out of an inning unless it's early. And then that, you know, happens rarely, but it has to start early with an organization to develop your pitchers to go more than 4 or 5 innings as a start, because it kills your bullpen, especially in the last 2 months of the season. And we've seen that with the Orioles too. But the way they just don't. The thought now is we pitch you less, you'll be we'll be able to pitch you more. You know, and that obviously there's still injuries out there.
Yeah.
They're coming in droves. You know, so I think if they ever want to, you know, change this, it has to start at your minor league level at every with every team, to get pitchers to pitch more than 5 innings on a regular basis, and that will help. Like I said, the bullpen. But you got to have a ton of pitchers, and you got to have, and that's what the Orioles are doing, and most clubs are trying to do that. Stock them at AAA, and you know, get as many guys as you can.
You know,
Quality people.
a lot of this though is sort of an unintended consequence of the pandemic, you know, where innings dropped so precipitously, teams were very careful building back up. I think we're past that now though, aren't we, Ross?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
that's I think that was the way it was trending anyway, before the pandemic. I mean, no one, you know, complete games are a thing of the past. Hopefully, it will return to some, at least 7 innings out of guys, and then you don't have to rest him for a week. You know, but I
But
mean,
boy, what they're paying some relief pitchers now,
no, no,
you want to get your value out of them.
no, absolutely. But the guy, you know, throwing as hard as you can, throwing breaking balls as hard as you can, it takes its toll on the arms of everyone. You just got to make sure you got guys in reserve that can come up and step in when these guys get hurt.
Luke mentioned going into the break where I did the Costa Sin commercial, Limon Arias. Where do you put his chances at making this ball club?
The forgotten man, right?
Yeah, he
I
sort
mean,
of is forgotten.
remember, this was an important guy for them from 21 to about, yeah, last year. You know,
21 and 22 is very
yeah,
important. Yeah.
yeah. And he's seems to have gotten to a point where perhaps he's, you know, at the end of the road. Yeah, he's another kid without options. And so he's either got to make the team or be subject to waivers. You can only protect 40 guys. You can't hoard players. So, yeah, I think that this is a really important spring for him as well. And I would not be surprised if toward the end of camp, if all their other infielders stay healthy, that they find a trade partner for him. That
Yeah.
would not surprise me at all. The question for me would be, do you view him, if you keep him around, do you view him as a guy who could play a high level second and third? Because I thought his defense maybe took a step back at third last year.
I thought so too.
And do you think you can get his bat back to like a 22 level? Because his bat really took a step back last year. And I hate to pick on the guy, but when you compared the Orioles game 1 lineup to the Rangers game 1 lineup, third base was a big difference.
Yeah.
And Urias was starting at third, and I think it was Josh Young for the Rangers. And you just looked at those 2 lineups and you thought that the Orioles were going to have to upgrade at certain spots in the lineup, but I thought third base was one of them.
Before we go, Ross, I know you had to leave town for a little while down there, and I know you're not watching it like a professional watcher anymore.
Right?
Exactly. I mean, every day.
Yeah.
Are you aware of how Halliday's playing at all? And Luke, I wanted the same question. What do you think? You think it's still a lean that the club is having to have him make the club, or do you think they're totally open, or they've made a decision that he's going to be in over his head a little bit at the beginning if he doesn't go back down to AAA? 3 options. Ross, you go first.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know, he's a guy that you don't want to rush him too quick. Obviously, getting Wong, that tells me something right there, that they're just in case, and he's going to get his opportunity. if he struggles a little bit, that's expected. Nothing says he can't go down. You don't want him to struggle at the big league level. Right off the bat. I saw Dower do it.
Yep.
And he I've seen a lot of guys do it, but he's a young kid. And even though he's probably more advanced than a lot of people, his age because of being around baseball and his dad. You're going to weigh that a little bit, but you just don't want to put him in too quick and have him. Who knows what could happen? But getting Wong, it tells me something right there that just in case we got him, and that says a lot.
Luke, you see it that way too? A
Yeah,
little bit. That is,
absolutely. He's only played 18 games in AAA. He didn't light the world on fire at AAA. And I mean, the one thing that was the sort of not an issue, but part of the story here is that if you think that this kid's going to be a Rookie of the Year candidate, if you bring him up on May 1st and he finishes top 2, then he gets the full year of service and you don't get the draft pick. And so if you think he's like 95% of the way ready, then you might as well just have him start,
roll the dice and
roll
try
the dice and but like I said, that's only if he's like ready or very close to it. If you get eyes on him in this spring and you really think a couple more months at AAA is going to do his career a lot of good, then do it. Because again, he's only played 18 games at AAA and he's 20 years old. There shouldn't be a huge rush, and you've got other good infielders. Connor Norby has played a full year or close to it at AAA and can really hit the cover off the ball.
Yeah.
We mentioned Ramon Urias before. He's played a lot of good baseball for the Orioles in the past. Jordan Westberg has looked pretty good last year, particularly defensively. So I think they've got other, and that's the thing when you have depth, you don't have to make decisions that you don't want to make. In other words, that you have other ways you can go. You have other avenues. So that's good. That's a good thing.
We went through a whole half hour without mentioning Kobe Mayo, who's
I'm
not saying he's lighting the world on fire, but I think he's opened some eyes that he's not that far away. Luke.
Yeah, I think Brandon mentioned the other day that he really likes the improvements that Kobe has made defensively. And that's one of the things that both of us wanted to see when we're down in Sarasota.
Yeah.
Because when I saw him at Aberdeen, I thought he was a little stiff with his actions, a little robotic. He's a big kid. And I just want to see a little bit of a smoother Kobe Mayo at third to feel like he can stick at third.
All right. What course you taking, Luke, to when we come down?
Oh, Heritage Harbor. That's my place right down the street.
All right. The green fees are on you?
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Ross just has to show up and show them this baseball card, and they're like, "You guys are good. You're good."
He probably signs a couple baseball cards.
I wish it was that way.
Yeah.
We have a good time there. It's a lot of fun.
Guys, it's been a pleasure talking to you. We'll do this again next Monday. Luke, you're coming down next Tuesday, I believe, right?
Yeah, the 12th through the 12th. Coming back home with you on the 18th.
The three of us will be on Monday night. I'll be doing it from down there. All right.
I'll see you Friday, Stan. I'm going to be at the game. Me and Devereaux and Tim Raines signing autographs, and we're going to be.
Which game are you at?
Is that Tim Raines, Rock Raines, or his son?
I'm not sure. I know Raines is going to be there. I don't know which one it is.
All right.
I just happen to see the name, but yeah.
All right. We'll talk once I'm down there. Okay, guys.
Gotcha, buddy. Gotcha.
Hey, for Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson, I'm Stan the Fan Charles. I'll be on Thursday with Eric Garfield, doing some prospect talking. That does it for today's show. We've been brought to you by our newest sponsor, the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Tremendous place. I'm looking forward to my first time down there. Heard rave reviews right up the street from Fells Point. If you're coming from downtown, you go through, and next thing you know, you're in Fells Point once you passed it. So it's a walking distance from Fells Point, but there's plenty of parking in the neighborhood of Atman's new location in Baltimore's Harbor Point. We've been brought to you by Superbook Sports with their $250 first bet bonus match, win or lose, Superbook Sports, and also by the Costas Inn and AJ Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning at ajmichaels.com. That's it for us today. Talk to you soon. Bye.